This is Bill and Deb North of Florida Weekend Warriors, and in this video we're going to do Newmar tips and tricks. We've had our Newmar for a year now, and we're going to share some of the things that we've learned in the last 12 months, so stay tuned. So I have a lot of tips to share with everyone. I'm going to do the outside of the RV first, and I have so much stuff. I'm probably going to have to do a part 1 and a part 2 on these new Newmar tips. So let's get started. The first thing I want to show you is this. Got this Magnashade. One thing I want to say about it is that it does help a lot with the heat, but it really doesn't help as much as everyone says. We still like it, and it does help a lot, but it's rather pricey, and I'd still buy it, but it's not going to do what everyone says it does. And if you're in Arizona or Florida, you might want to get the 95% one. I got the 90% one, and I kind of wish I would have got the darker one because it might have been a little more effective. Another thing I think is super important is that you should probably join one of the Facebook groups for Newmar, like the Baystar group and the Newmar owners group. You'll learn a lot of stuff, and so a lot of these things I'm going to show you I learned in those groups. So one of the first things that I learned is how the water drips down on the window, and you can see how short the gutter guards are. All you do is put these little stainless steel alligator clips on it. They work really well. They've been on there for a year, and I haven't lost one of them yet. They're like 10 bucks off Amazon for a bag of them. Another thing I want to show is the getting the hood open. It worked really well when we first got it, but then you needed 2 people, one to pull the latch and one to pull it at the same time. So I don't have to do that anymore. I put these springs on it. So let me put this hood latch down. You can see I got these from Lowe's. It looks like they won't fit on there, but you basically just get a pair of pliers and wrap them around there and they'll fit, and it's just enough tension to open it when you pull the latch. Another thing I want to show you is that this leveling system and the electric motor. The electric motor's right there, and when you're going down the highway, this thing is just getting soaked with water. Even just a light rain and you're not moving, there'll be water all over this. All it is, got a piece of Tupperware, put a couple tie wraps around it, cut it around the edges so that it would fit. Another thing I want to show everyone is that there's actually a master disconnect for the chassis in here. It's right back here. So if you ever have it where your dash is dead, this main disconnect is probably popped. Another thing I did is there's 2 batteries here and there's 4 batteries in the back. I added this auto watering system. I'll put a link in it. It was about $100 for the 4 up here and the ones back here. And basically, to add water to the batteries, I have this hose sitting down here. You just hook a pump up to this and pump it just like a ball on the fuel line of a boat, and your batteries are topped off without having taken all the caps off. After about 3 months of ownership, this grate here was starting to rust, and I did have to paint it with some Rust-Oleum paint, and it's held up so far. At the factory, they're just not putting enough paint on it. Another thing up in here, this is the oil fill, and you can see there's not much room in here. You really can't use the gallon jugs. You just I go to Costco and I get quarts of the synthetic oil, and if you have the right size funnel, it's not hard at all. I rarely spill anything. And here's my VIN. So you know the big VIN story about Newmar, but my VIN is right there. Now right here is the chassis fuses for the Ford F-53. So this is the only fuses on the coach from Ford. You got to take this cover off. It's super tricky to get back on because it's right up against this firewall, so I'm not going to take it off. But I already had to get into this panel the first day I owned the RV. So they dropped the RV off at the house, and the technician towed like a 12-year-old Jeep Cherokee behind it. So when I went to hook up my Toad, I had no running lights on the tow vehicle. And I suspected a blown fuse, and I sure did have one. So I would highly recommend getting the owner's manual and printing this and keeping it in the coach. It shows the layout once you take the cover off, all the numbered fuses, and what they all go to. The awning, as soon as I got the RV, it was constantly beeping, and there's a set of batteries up in there. There's a Bluetooth module for the awning, and it had water in it. So I just called the manufacturer and they sent me a new one. It's been working fine ever since. So right there is where the awning sensor is. There's no wires whatsoever. There's just two self-tapping screws and to change the batteries out. And this thing will beep when the batteries go dead. So if you have a strange beeping noise from your RV, it could be you just have dead batteries in the Bluetooth sensor of the awning. Make sure you put the Bluetooth on your phone because there's certain functions on the app that you can't control inside the coach. One of the main ones is the dimming of the lights. That's the only way to dim the lights is through the app. So keep track of this and know where it is at all times, because I had some work done and I couldn't find it. I had it buried in there and I couldn't remember where I put it. So I just leave it here. This is to get the hubcaps off. And if you realize it, there's like 3 or 4 of these that have this little indentation on them. That's what these are. These don't come off, but these, the little indentation in them do, and that's how you get the wheel cover off. If the inverter on your coach isn't working, there is a reset button on this device here. And also, here's the infamous bird. It may be in one of these bays, or it could be in the front of your coach, but there's a whole bunch of fuses and stuff in here. So this is another place to check if you have something that's not working, is this fuse panel in here next to the bird. The next thing I want to talk about is the generator. The generator, you got to operate it once a month to keep from getting stale fuel in the generator. So I basically put fuel stabilizer at every fill up so that there's always fuel stabilizer in any fuel that goes in the generator. Now, one thing that I found out by accident is that the dipsticks on these generators are defective. Let me show you. So this dipstick, so it holds 2 quarts of oil. And when you put 2 quarts of oil in, you can see how it's just like a little bit past, a little bit higher than the add. If you go all the way to the full mark, the generator won't run. There's some kind of disconnect, there's some kind of oil level sensor in there, and it'll shut off. Also, if you're not really level, it will shut off then too. So I added oil, and it wasn't even up to the full mark, and the generator wouldn't run anymore. It would just run, install, run, install, run, install. I took 16 ounces of oil out to the level I currently have it now, and I've had no problems since. Also, if you're ever not getting full power from your generator, there's 2 30 amp breakers here for each hot leg into your coach. So always check here first if you're not getting power in the coach and the generator's on. Now these hitches are notoriously for rattling, so I put an anti-rattle mechanism on here. This is the newest one that just came out from E-Trailer, and it's not really heavy duty enough. It just came out, and which you can see where everything's all bending and it's starting to rust. So I'm gonna have to go back and put the old style anti-rattle on there to keep the hitch from rattling. So one thing I want to point out, it's the charge wire that goes to your Toad. It is not hooked up on the 7-way connector. Ford doesn't hook it up at the factory, and neither does Newmar, which I think is a mistake because they should. So there's 2 wires tucked up in the wire loom of this 7-way connector. So you undo the, you go behind it and you undo all the electrical tape over the wire loom around 6 or 8 inches in. There's a black and an orange wire folded over just in there, and you need to hook up at least one of them to the charge terminal on the 7-way. And you can see which one, if you look at this diagram, you're able to tell which one is the charge wire. So you only need to hook up one of the wires, not both of them. So I picked the orange one because that made more sense to me than to hook a black wire up to something that becomes hot when you turn the ignition on. And the other end of those wires are up under the dash. And there's a bunch of black and orange wires in the dash. And if you're not real good at this kind of stuff, I would have the dealer do it. It took me half a day to find the other end of the wire, hook all this stuff up and test it. So just thought I'd let you know that you can do it, but it's really tough getting up under that dash. There's not a whole lot of room there. These snap pads are expensive, but I still highly recommend them. It really just saves a lot of headache of climbing in and out of the RV. And a lot of these newer RV parks with the paver bricks actually require you to have them. Let's see. Water leaks. We've already had one water leak. It was under the shower. And I found it by attempting to put in one of these Govee water sensors. So I highly recommend these. I got 5 of them. I put one under the sink in the kitchen, one by the water lines that go into the sink. I put one under the sink in the bathroom, one under the shower, and that's where the leak was. It was dripping in the insulation, and I didn't even know it until I went to put the sensor in here. And then I keep another one here right under this water pump. These are notoriously for leaking, so I highly recommend them, especially since if I wouldn't have attempted to put them in, I wouldn't have found the water leak till a huge amount of damage would have happened. Another thing I'd want to share is the new Power Watchdog that came out. The newest one is has Wi-Fi, so if you have Wi-Fi in your coach, you can always monitor your system. So you can see that the newest one has a Wi-Fi symbol in it, and I just keep it locked to the end of the power cord. But you can see, you can always tell exactly what your coach is drawing. So right now the back AC is on because that's line 2, and looks like the front one, just the inverter battery charger was running. So when it was at North Trail RV getting worked on, I got a code saying that the power has been disconnected. So I emailed North Trail and told them that to unplug it and plug it back in because it would not reset. So I highly recommend it. I check it every day because we store it at our house, and without me having to walk out there, I can just easily check and see if there's power to the RV and nothing's been tripped. And here's the app for the EQ leveling system. It looks just like your dash, so it operates exactly the same. And I highly recommend coming out and looking at your jacks when you go to use it. Here's my Level Mate Pro app. You can see the front's level. Well, it was a second ago there, it's level again. And then the back. I like having the front up a little bit more than the back, so that the water runs off the back of the coach instead of the front. Because sometimes if the wind's blowing, it'll drip on the windows. And here is the Carefree Connects app for the awning. You just connect it, and it's lost connection because I have it turned off. But hold on a second, I'll turn it on. There it goes. So you can see you can extend it, and you can stop it, and then you can just retract it, and she'll go back in. This is especially helpful when you're outside and you got trees and stuff, and you can stop it just in time. But what I really like is that you can dim the lights with it. The next 3 clips are things I already should have mentioned, but I didn't want to re-edit the whole video. And these fuses are kind of an oddball size. They're not super popular. They're called Micro 2 fuses. They're super small, and a lot of the auto parts stores don't have a wide selection of them. You may have to buy a kit that has like 5 different sizes. So I bought a couple of them to keep on the coach, because in the back, the fuses that Newmar put in, they all have spares to use, but so there's no spare micro 2 fuses. So I put the slide in so we can see and hear a little better. But one thing, there is a master fuse right there for this battery pack. So if you lose all your coach batteries and it's completely dead, it might be this blown fuse. And here's the end where I fill the batteries with water. It's super simple. You just take this little cap off like this, and you just snap this on the hose like this. Then you just drop this in distilled water and pump the ball, and when the ball's hard, all your batteries are filled. I do it about once a month, and it takes around a quart of water per month to fill all these batteries. And here's another tip. It took me a year to figure this one out, but there's actually a light up under the dash. Right up there is a light. Never knew it was there, because you're always bending over. I guess it'd help you check those fuses. We hope you liked this video and found it helpful. Leave a comment, give us a thumbs up. If you got any other suggestions, send them to me and I'll do it in another video, because I'm going to do a part 2 of the inside of the RV. We'll see you on our next adventure. Please subscribe.